Hey guys, this is Dave Millican, the Ace of Belts. You're listening to Give Me Back My Pro Wrestling.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Give Me Back My Pro Wrestling.
For those who don't know, now you know, baby. This is Hot Rod Biggs, Jared, Jimmy Street. We're going to take them to the limit one more time, baby, right here on Give Me Back My Pro Wrestling.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome one more time to the Give Me Back My Pro Wrestling podcast. And once again, as always, I'm here with my brother from the same father and mother, my tag team partner in life. What's up, Jut the Plastic Sheik? What are you doing, brother?
Man, I'm just enjoying a day off and getting ready to have a good time with this interview.
Oh, nice. Yeah, I'm very excited to have Mr. Dave Millican, the Ace of Belts. As you all saw, that is the show for the day. Dave's a guy I've wanted to talk to for a while. He's so popular, it's been tough to get him because a lot of other podcasts have been getting him on, and it's been a back and forth, but he's a great guy, and he's given us this time, so I'm excited to be able to talk to this guy. I mean, literally, he has a touch of everything in just about every promotion from so many decades. I mean, it's crazy to think of the belts that this guy has made.
Yeah, and not just wrestling belts, but like UFC, Bellator, stuff like that. I mean, he's the guy that people turn to when they want a high quality belt, man. That's professional. I mean, your fantasy football league, you could have one for that from Dave Millican, you know? Yeah,
so
there you go, brother.
I don't know what the price on that would be, but hey, so, you know, but anyway, to kind of go back and do a little housekeeping here, our last episode, of course, we had the hilarious Gene Jackson. We did the Thunder in Paradise watch along. Of course, that's already out. Hope y'all have enjoyed it, seeing great numbers on that. One thing I want to let y'all know about, if you haven't done this, you can actually go to our YouTube channel, Give Me Back My Pro Wrestling at GMBMPW, and you can actually watch the movie with us talking throughout it. Now, you know, maybe that's annoying to you, but that's the whole idea of a watch along. So get over it, right?
Yeah, there you go.
But yeah, that was a lot of fun. It took me a little while to get that done because my computer does not really like large, massive video files. I'm not a video guy anyway, but anyway, it was a lot of fun to get that done and a lot of hilarious times watching it. So I hope you all have enjoyed that. You know, I kind of wanted to breeze past this one because there's been some things coming up on other podcasts that I kind of feel like we need to address. So a few episodes ago, you know, we did one of our what if episodes, right?
Right.
And, you know, we love what if Sting versus Hogan, what if Magnum T. I mean, we got all kinds of what if ideas. I'm not going to go into that right now. But one of the biggest ones that we wanted to do since we thought of it was what if Ultimate Warrior and Sting switched places. Okay. Well, the numbers through the podcast apps were great. Amazing. The numbers through the YouTube channel were also amazing. I think we have a short addressing Sting's need in the Jim Crockett promotion is nearing 35,000 as we speak. So, you know, that's crazy. I know shorts are popular, but man, this one must be popping up in everybody's feed because I swear it's out there, you know.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
So I think we did this like 3 or 4 months ago. You guys go back in the archives, definitely give it a listen. But why I bring this up is here recently, not only on one major podcast, but 2 major podcasts, this question has come up. Now, Jared, we know that we're probably not the first people to ask what if of that question, right?
True,
I mean,
yeah.
That's not ours. We didn't trademark it. We didn't originate that thought. I'm positive. But I want to say that we had a little touch on this. So right now you can hear the clip of Conrad and Ric Flair. Conrad asks Ric Flair about the question.
Says, my question is, if the roles reversed in the late 80s with Sting going to the WWF and Jim Hellwig going to JCP, how would both men's careers have panned out?
Sting would have been huge. Hellwig would not have worked at the JCP.
Not for long.
No. Can you see Jim Hellwig getting along with Ole Anderson?
Well, that's fair, I guess.
Now, let me be honest. Harley Race.
Yeah.
So Sting would have been huge either way, and was, and is. Jim was hard to do business with,
Right.
and that wasn't a word. Like when he didn't want to do the favor and he held him up somewhere. You think someone's
Madison Square Garden, SummerSlam '91.
What do you think Harley Race would do in that situation?
Broke his leg.
He'd walk over in the locker room and beat him up so bad, and he'd throw him out the door and tell him not. I mean, that's the way it would happen.
Right.
I mean, that's the way the business was back then. Jack Mulligan, can you imagine that? I mean, I can't fathom that. I just can't.
All right. And then now, also, you sent me last night as I'm going out to get some dinner, you sent me a text and you were like, check this out. And I'm usually pretty up on this one because I'm on YouTube a lot like you are. And this one popped up that this was Jim Cornette getting asked the very same question. Yeah. What if Sting and the Ultimate Warrior went to different locations?
All right. Well, our final question here this week, Jim, sent to the official Cult of Cornette Facebook group from Devin Pettiford. Do you think if Sting went to the WWF instead of Warrior and Warrior went to WCW, would they have risen to as high a level as they did?
Oh, good God, no. Good God, no. Sting would have become a star in the WWF. Warrior would have become a professional chiropractor after WCW well, it would have actually been Jim Crockett Promotions at that point. He wouldn't have lasted 3 weeks in Jim Crockett Promotions. From what I've never had the misfortune of dealing with him much on a personal basis, except for that one famous lunch and afternoon visit. But no, he couldn't work or talk to the standards of the talent in Crockett Promotions. He didn't have the attitude to want to learn. He would not have been in any way babied or coddled or pushed past his ability like he was with Vince, because Dusty nor Jimmy Crockett nor anybody else in the Carolinas gave a f about bodybuilders or cared what his body looked like, whereas that was what Vince saw to make him the next guy.
Now, again, there could be some sort of coincidence in this that it was asked 2 times on 2 different shows, but I gotta say this with all honesty. I gotta feel like this was one we put out in the air there, man. I'm just saying. Yeah.
And for the listeners out there, we did not send these questions to Ric Flair or to Jim Cornette. We did not send that question. We were kind of just like, hey, cool, that question's coming up to them too. And, it's cool. I got to think somebody might have saw the short or saw a video and, thought, hey, let's ask
somebody that wrestled both of them, or somebody
wrestled both of them, or that was around. Like Cornette wasn't around Warrior. I think he said he had some kind of weird meeting with him one time. He said,
Anyway, I don't know if we are the reason, but I feel like if there's a percentage of it that we are possibly the reason. And I'm not here to pat ourselves on the back. I'm not here to toot our own horn. But as Arn Anderson would say, Jared,
toot.
Exactly. I'm just saying. So, hey, if y'all listened to our show and then went to Rick and Jim to get their expert opinion, I really appreciate that. What I love the most, though, is that the legends, the podcasting giants, agreed with our point,
Yeah.
So it wasn't.
Cornette's was a little different. Like Ric Flair was almost spot on with what we said.
Right. Right.
And nothing against Cornette because he's an amazing wrestling mind, but to hear it from Flair, who has been in the ring with both of those guys, with Sting may be his most common opponent. I don't know if that you could look that up. I don't know, but
right.
I mean, he may have wrestled more time against Sting than anybody.
Yeah, I think he wrestled Warrior a couple times. Either way, though, he's Ric frickin' Flair. He's gonna know. He's gonna know if it would have worked. And again, I don't want to stay too far on this because we got a big show ahead of us. But to be honest, just tell us, y'all, do you think that they took it from us? Because again, 3-4 months ago, we do this show and we did a lot, man. We went in deep on it. We broke it down from the Warriors side. We went down from the Sting side. If y'all haven't checked out that episode, honestly, I don't know why you're here, but secondarily, if you haven't, go check it out because truthfully, I think it's one of our best, most researched episodes. You know, that, I think that, what do you think, Jared?
I think that it's outside of our interviews, because interviews are about the guests we got on. Outside of our interviews, that could possibly be our best, like playing off each other and like being just well researched, and we knew the topic.
Yeah, we went deep on the topic. We wanted to be the final say. Now, again, I'm never going to say we're the final say over Cornette. I'm never going to say we're the final say over Ric Flair. I'm never going to say, because wrestling fans are going to ask other people. But I just love the idea that somebody, even if they just flew by in YouTube and said, what if Sting and, well, by Jax, I might ask old Corny about that, you know? I'm happy. So
yeah. And the one thing, if the question had came out to them a few years ago, there was something in maybe one of the Warrior documentaries where somebody kind of says something like that, not exactly,
right? But
so then I would have put it on that. But you know, that Dark Side of the Ring episode's at least a couple of years old now, and that A&E biography, which I don't think was the one they said it in, was like a year and a half ago. So
it could have been out there prior to this. Again,
but like I said, it wasn't the exact question.
Right. And also, I guarantee nobody has researched it as much as you and I did. We wanted, like I said, to be the somewhat final say on the matter, And the beauty part of it is the greatest wrestler of all time and one of the greatest minds, historians in this business of all time, both somewhat down to the details agreed with us. So anyway, thank y'all for listening. Thank you for asking Legends the question. It means a lot. Yeah. We're just two kids from Southwest Virginia that love pro wrestling and get our way to get a little bit of talk about it. So, with that being said,
hey, just let me interrupt you right quick.
Yeah.
I heard you and I was listening to you and Wolfie's Jerry Jarrett episode, and you were talking about Southwest Virginia and everything like that. The way my coping mechanism for always explaining it so people didn't think I was from West Virginia, and to really get, nothing against West Virginia, but just to tell them that I was from Virginia, I would always say I'm from the southwest part of Virginia.
Yeah, that
was always my explanation for it.
Yeah, because you can't always count on somebody to say Southern West Virginia.
Yeah.
And again, we're very close to Southwest Virginia.
Yeah, exactly, we are.
But we're Southwest Virginia, or I like how you say we're from the southwestern part of Virginia, and I like that. I used to say we're from the big toe of Virginia. So if you see Virginia, it's like a foot, and we're in the big toe region. So anyway, I think that pretty much is it for, unless you have anything else for the open, Jet. What do you think?
No, man, that's good. That's great. I was thinking to mention the same thing myself with that question. So good job.
Yeah. Oh, well, hey, that's what we're here for. Like minds, make it happen. So I say let's take a quick little break, listen to a couple of our buddies' commercials, and we'll be right back with the ace of belts, Dave Millican.
Promotional consideration paid for by the following.
What does every USAA member have in common? Family. We're one big family who supports the military community and their eligible families. And if you, your parent, or spouse served, you could join our family and save big on auto insurance. Visit USAA.com/join today to check your eligibility. Membership eligibility and product restrictions apply and are subject to change. USAA means United Services Automobile Association and its affiliates, San Antonio, Texas.
Hey, it's Paris. I love sparkly things, right? Like stars. Duh. And thanks to Hilton and AutoCamp, I just slept under them. Picture me, serving looks by the fire outside my luxurious Airstream, making s'mores with the kids, while a national park is our backdrop. The great outdoors meets Hilton hospitality. That's hot. Explore all the new ways to stay at Hilton.com. Hilton for the stay.
My name is Happy Gilmore. I haven't swung a club in years.
You know what you gotta do. Grip it and rip it.
Or... Oh, now that is some Happy Gilmore.
everyone is talking about the comeback kid, Happy Gilmore.
Happy Knee.
Yeah, baby!
Happy Gilmore 2, only on Netflix July 25th. Rated PG-13, may be inappropriate for children under 13.
This is Kroll, and you're listening to Give Me Back My Pro Wrestling with Jimmy Street and Jared the Plastic Sheik. Be sure to like, subscribe, and view all of our USWO and Saw Wrestling content at Nashville Wrestling Network, exclusively on YouTube.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you all so much for sticking around. And this one more time is the Ace of Belts, Dave Millican. Welcome to the show, my friend. How are you doing today, sir?
Yeah, better than I deserve. How are you?
Oh, man, we're doing good. Thank you so much for coming on. It's definitely been something I've wanted to talk to you about. It's funny, man. I was thinking, Dave Millican, let's get him on the show. And then, boom, Jericho got you. I was like, well, that was a great show.
Well, thanks, man. That was something we were trying to line up for a while. And then his schedule, my schedule. And, we finally got it done. And I think we taped that thing back in maybe mid-December, something like that. But yeah, it finally got out there. It's been a while since I'd had done one. I'll do things, here and there for my buddies and stuff. But I was looking back and I was like, my gosh, man, time's passed me by. I was on one of the early Steve Austin shows, and but that was 9 years ago.
Wow. Wow. Time flies, man.
Time flies for sure. That's awesome. Well, we're glad you're on our show today, Dave. So just sit back, relax, and we're going to bug you with some questions, brother. So
Jared, I look forward to it.
Awesome.
Hey, Dave. So we always start out. This is my favorite question to ask people, and people kind of, it could put you on the spot a little bit, but it's a fun question. But yours is going to be a two-part question, because of your specialty. So my favorite question is your Mount Rushmore of wrestlers. Like, who are your favorite, like your top four? You can have five. I'll give you five. I'll give everybody the opportunity to have that fifth one. And your Mount Rushmore of title belts.
My gosh, man. I think we just did the whole show right there by the time we did that. Oh, man. I sit around and in my very limited spare time, and I see other people pose this question online, and mine would probably look considerably different than a lot of the rest of the wrestling fan population. And the reason why is really about personal connections. And as much as it is, accomplishments and stuff. But I always drive myself crazy, and I'll always walk away from the question. But let's see what we can do. Oh my gosh, it's like I'm gonna have to say that personally and professionally, you got Stone Cold Steve Austin.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
And that's, I thought so even before. I first met Steve in 1990, and he was being managed by Jamie Dundee, my buddy JC Ice.
Oh, yeah.
And, And I already knew Jamie a little bit, and Steve had, kind of just come into the territory and stuff. And I thought, oh, man, big, guy, long blonde hair, got the look, and he can work, even though he was just getting going. I mean, he just had it. But man, whoever would have thought,
Yeah.
And so Steve Austin, all right, Steve Austin.
Love it.
Oh my gosh, and I think probably a lot of people over the last, 20 years, 25 years might think, really, but I get into a lot of these, the guys that, you're always going to have your people who are going to go, Flair, Rock, Austin, whatever. And those are all 100% qualifiable names, But for me, I wouldn't be in this business without Jerry Lawler.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Awesome.
I absolutely would not be in this business if you take Jerry Lawler out of it.
Yeah.
So he's always going to be on Rushmore for me. And a lot of people think, well, he's never even won a title in WWE or whatever, you know, all kind of silly stuff like that.
Yeah.
You know, but who cares?
Right.
You know?
Right.
You know, if you think he was the guy that just sat there and yelled puppies, or, you know, maybe did a couple of, you know, they had the program with Brett and the program with Taz. Well, that's all true, and those are good programs, but you still don't know the guy if that's what if that's, you know.
Learn something.
Let's see. Yeah, right. Educate yourself. So, okay, we got two. So, oh my gosh, man. Geez. So let's go with, I think you do have to go with Ric Flair. I think Rick has to be on it.
Yeah.
And here's why. Right now, we just talked about how maybe guys that have been watching the business for 20 or 25 years might not understand the greatness of the King, but you have 20-year-olds who are watching video of Ric Flair from 1986, 1987, because he has influenced pop culture that much, transcended the wrestling business that much.
Absolutely.
So I think you got to go with Rick.
Yeah. My wife saw part of a match with him and Steamboat in that trilogy one time, and she's like, wow, this is really good. And she doesn't know anything or doesn't like wrestling at all, but like she saw that. And so that just shows you, like, when somebody can see that and recognize that doesn't know anything, it shows you.
What better endorsement is there?
Right. Exactly.
You know, it's one thing for me to be like, oh, Jerry Lawler this, oh, Steve Austin that, or whatever. But for somebody that's not a fan, I mean, I'll be 56 years old in a few months, and I've been a fan most of my life. I've been involved with the business the majority of my life,
right.
And I still put Rick up there. So when you get somebody that says that is not a fan, it's because everybody can recognize poetry in motion.
Yeah, absolutely.
And Rick didn't just you know talk the talk, which God knows that he could, but he walked the walk.
Mm-hmm.
And so, you know, I'm telling you, these guys that I'm naming, and this is something I've said before, these guys that I'm naming, people will be talking about them in 30 years, in 50 years.
Totally.
These are names people will still talk about, like we talk about, if you're a true fan, like you'll go back and talk about Luthez.
Yeah,
you know,
right.
Then so we get into the deep woods here, man. You know, there's so many, because I mean, you know, I love Dusty, and I love Harley, and gosh.
Remember, you get a fifth one if you need it. Don't forget that.
Well, I tell you what I'm going to do. I am going to go, and a lot of people are probably going to think that we're getting into generalizing and sticking to maybe NWA stuff or whatever, but another person that transcended the wrestling business was Dusty Rhodes. Dusty Rhodes was doing national commercials in the late 70s.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Get back with stand back, baby.
Love it. Oh, man.
And I got to know, you know, I met Dusty before then a little bit, but I got to know Dusty when he came in, and I was seeing him on a weekly basis for a little bit during the early TNA days.
Yeah.
But you know, Dusty and I were never like close friends or anything like that, but I was around him a lot. He was very good to me. A lot of these guys, Rick, Dusty, I had an automatic in because these were guys that they wrestled against Reg Park, the man that got me in the belt business. And then they also ordered belts from him later. So, you know, I had kind of an automatic in. It's like, oh, that's Reggie's guy. He's all right. And or even truly, that's the King's guy. Well, he's all right. He's fine. But okay. So what do we have? We've done Austin. We've done Lawler. We've done Dusty.
And
this
Rick.
next one was, and Rick. So I'm going to go 5.
Okay.
I'm going to take the 5.
Love it.
And the reason we take 5 is, you know, he might have gotten kind of lost in this digital age where everything can be fact checked, but a guy that truly, and I'll take heat for this one, I'm sure, from a lot of people, but if you live through it like I did and you watch the business transform, then I think you have to put Hulk Hogan up there.
Oh yeah, no doubt.
And whether people think the business changed for the better or not is always going to be a debate.
Right.
But I've heard people say, well, Vince could have done that with any number of guys. And no, I could not disagree more.
Yeah, I agree. Totally agree with you. Yeah.
So there we go.
Love it.
A great list. And I always tell people no wrong answers on that. I mean,
yeah. And I have to remind myself of that going forward because my gosh, man, it's like you have, so many, I left Harley Race Off and that was painful, but
right.
Because Harley, my God, it's like there's always going to be somebody you think, oh, that one hurts. That one hurts.
Yeah. It does. I have Terry Funk, Lawler, Ric Flair.
Oh my gosh, see, Terry Funk.
And Roddy Piper on mine. So it's like, how do you, but I love Bret Hart too. I love Dusty. I love Sting. There's so many guys, but I love Terry Funk so much. I love Roddy Piper so much. I love Ric Flair. We're not talking about me though right now. So
Bret is another guy. And here's how Bret changed the whole business. Bret was the guy that when Rick was ready to go back and leave Vince again, I didn't see that coming. I did, and I was connected. I was already kind of on the inner loop on some of the workings of the wrestling business and knew some of the people, and I didn't see that coming, and it took me by surprise. Not because I didn't think Bret was capable or deserved it. I just didn't think Vince would ever do it.
Right.
And so Bret's another one. Bret would deserve a spot on anybody's. It's valid. It's valid. Roddy is valid. Roddy was the guy, for crying out loud, that wouldn't take the WWF title because even he said, "Yeah, I might not drop it back."
Yeah,
because he didn't. Because he really didn't. Because he really didn't care that much for Hogan. So he even said, out of all the things Hogan says that are questionable, right?
Right.
He said, "I wanted to do business," but Hot Rod outright said, "Yeah, I don't know. I don't know that I would do it. I don't know that I would do the favor for you."
Yeah, so, it's so great, isn't it? It's so great.
It is, and I know we probably got to talk about some belts now and stuff, but I'm telling you, I did this with. I think I do it with everybody that I'm on with. If we start off with wrestling, it's been such a big part of my life that I've done belts for Kiss and Garth Brooks and Madonna and Jason Aldean, and I'm going to forget somebody like that, but I'm just saying it transcends wrestling so much now.
Yeah.
But I do this because of my love for the wrestling business. That's what got me into it.
You can tell. That's evident in your craftsmanship. So.
Thanks, man. I really appreciate it. Okay, so Rushmore belts, and oh my gosh, the first one's easy because it's the answer I always give when I've told you the main guy responsible for why I do this, but the main belt that was responsible for me getting into this business was it ran from about late 1981, this particular version, until about 1989. And it was the AWA Southern Heavyweight Championship from Memphis.
Oh, dude, that's a beautiful belt. Beautiful. It is. Yeah.
And these days, everybody thinks it's got to be a foot tall, and it's got to have 1,500 CZs on it. And it's got to shine like a diamond in a goat's ass. But I'm going to tell you something. When you walked into the Coliseum back in the days before I could talk my dad into getting me down into the loggia on the floor, you can walk up into those cheap seats of the Coliseum, and when that spotlight would hit that belt, it might as well have been a foot tall, and it might as well have had 1,000 CZs on it because you could see that belt from anywhere in the Mid-South Coliseum.
Yes.
And it was
gorgeous belt.
Yes, it's always going to be my number one because I wouldn't have ever started doing this without it.
Yeah.
So, oh my gosh. All right, so we'll go from that to this is going to be easier than the guys. We'll go from that to the 10 pounds of gold.
Yeah.
I love it.
We'll go from the 10 pounds of gold to the big gold.
Okay.
The original one.
Right.
Sitting about 35 minutes from my house right now, that one.
Oh, don't tell me that, Dave. Oh, my God.
Some of the copies were, nice, and the follow-ups and the WWE versions and the whatever. But that original belt that was handcrafted out of sterling silver and overlaid in gold. That crumb rind belt is one of a kind, and nothing. There's some beautiful copies out there, but there's only one real one.
Yeah.
So we'll go with that one.
Yeah. And
then we're going to get a little more personal, and even though it didn't originate with me, God knows I've done more of them than anybody else. We mentioned Hogan and we mentioned Brett, and I probably should have mentioned Shawn somewhere in the middle of all that, but the Winged Eagle Championship belt, as they call it, which I always said that name would never catch on, by the way, when it was somebody first started saying it a little over 20 years ago. Right. All eagles have wings. Well, boy, was I wrong, because when they sent me my royalty report, Winged Eagle, Winged Eagle, Winged Eagle, Winged Eagle. But that was a Reg Park specialty, and Reggie considered it not just his, but our signature belt. And I say that because even Reggie knew that I ultimately ended up doing more of them than he did. Yeah. And as the collector market grew, especially, and all that. So I think that would be it. I'm leaving off 100 belts that I love, but that's why it's a Rushmore, right? So
that's right. So a little segue question: if I can promise to delay this after WrestleMania, will we see another Winged Eagle coming soon, maybe?
Oh my gosh! Well, as much as the honest to God truth is, as much as I know. I have been so tempted to I haven't talked to Cody in a couple of years, but I get so tempted to text Cody and be like, "Hey man, any chance?" And the truth is, I haven't heard a word. And my last communication with WWE was an email on Sunday night about some other business. So I haven't heard a word. Nobody said anything to me. So
gotcha.
And it would have to be me legally.
Right.
So,
right.
So that's the truth. I guess if I was being coy, then you could read something into it. But the truth is, there's been zero communication with me about it.
Yeah, it's such a beautiful belt. Not knocking the current belts whatsoever. They have their place. They're not my favorite, but if I were to pick, the AEW title is much more, it reminds me of the old Mid-South title, but what is the Mid-South National title or something that it looks
North American.
North American, thank you. The beauty of that AEW title is so much more than the current WWE titles. And now a word from our sponsor.
Not all meals are created equal. For instance, breakfast has the spicy egg McMuffin for a limited time, and lunch doesn't. McDonald's breakfast comes first. Ba-da-ba-ba-ba.
With a major selection of the looks your kiddos love, starting at just $4 in the Walmart app, a new school year means a stylish new them. Who knew? Find skater skirts and Crocs that say, I'm casual but cool. Sparkly sneakers that say, it's my classroom, you're just learning in it. And preppy polos that say, I'm the teacher's pet, even if they're mommy's menace at home. Find their favorite styles starting at just $4 in the app. The Walmart you thought you knew is now new.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Give Me Back My Pro Wrestling, the podcast that's based on the old school but can still help you find the good stuff from today. Jimmy Street and the Plastic Sheik, Jared, are the undisputed tag team champions of the wrestling podcast world. From thought-provoking topics to superstar interviews to action figure expertise. This team does it all. And all they ask is, give me back my pro wrestling! Every other Thursday, wherever you listen to podcasts.
This episode is brought to you by Nespresso Virtuo Coffee Machines. Ready to enjoy the bold flavors of barista-quality Nespresso iced coffee at home? Simply fill a glass with ice and press the brew button on your Virtuo Pop machine to enjoy rich double espressos roasted to stand up even when chilled. Refreshingly bold iced coffee. Refreshingly easy to make at home. Visit Nespresso.com to shop now.
Finding a new job is stressful. But with Indeed, it doesn't have to be. Just fill out your Indeed profile with your skills, experience, and desired salary. The more you fill out, the better your matches will be. And hearing from hiring managers will be 2 times more likely. Relax. That's your Indeed profile sending opportunities your way. Indeed, the world can work better.
My thinking on this is I don't really care as much about the newer stuff, just like in my wrestling fandom. I love talking about the old stuff. And I guess to talk about the old stuff, we kind of got to go where you started. So tell me a little bit about your upbringing, man. Tell me a little bit about your start, Dave.
Well, I grew up, about, 35, 40 minutes north of Memphis, Tennessee. So, and I grew up in a time, I've already told you how old I am, and not that, you know, I don't have an autographed copy of the Bible or anything, but I've been around for a day or two. You know, at a time when if you wanted something like that, there was no internet. There's no, let me get the Sears catalog out and order a championship belt. There's, you know, if you wanted something like that, you had to make it.
Right.
And it's why so many, you can go back now even and find so many of the smaller promotions that had homemade belts. I mean, even Nick Goulas, who had all the resources of a you know, most successful wrestling promoters, had homemade belts in some cases. The NWA Mid-America Championship, which to most people doesn't hold up today because it's just as engraved metal and shiny, and we thought it was cool in the Coliseum days, but you know, anyway, it was a homemade, right? So that's
right.
what I had to do. I had to start homemade. And I started like most kids back then. I didn't have anything to work with. So let's see, go raid mom's cabinet and get the aluminum foil out and cut out some cardboard and get a little paint and see what you can slap together. And that's how we started. And it evolved into, I had an uncle who, you know, my dad was very involved and very much around, but he worked a lot. And I had an uncle who lived next door who took up a lot of time with me, and he worked in Memphis at a place where, you know, he could just take cutting torch and go down there and cut out a piece of steel for me. I could just draw him a template and go with him down there, and we'd cut it out and shine it up, and I would do, you know, paint, put some trophy pieces on it, and put it on at the time, mostly, you know, whatever I could find from old seat covers or whatever. I didn't even really get into it. We were a little later in the 80s before I even started messing with real leather. And that's how it started. And it just evolved until I'd actually been around the wrestling business. And I knew of Reggie through, I think actually the King was the first person to even tell me about Reggie. But I had seen, I mean, from personal experience, but I had seen in the old After magazines where Bill and Reggie were friends, so occasionally on a Where Are They Now, Bill would slap a little segment about whatever Reggie was doing, and I always mentioned that he made most of the championship belts that were on the major television shows.
Yeah.
So I really just wanted a Reggie belt. Didn't really aspire at that point to make them, or certainly not ever for a living or that sort of thing. I never even thought that'd be a possibility. I never even... You know, it's not that I sit and daydreamed about it. It never crossed my mind. I didn't think that was a tangible life goal, you know?
Yeah.
So, I was working in a prison, and I did that for several years. And I was kind of still, whenever I was free, I'd already had the Inn. I'd known the King since the late 80s, probably 87-ish, I guess, on a personal level. I'll fix up a thing or two here or there or whatever, but I wasn't really making anything other than stuff I did for, you know, these days everything's an indie show if it's not a big time. But back then we just called them outlaw shows.
Right.
And I did some outlaw show work and whatever. And then, you know, I mean, King was the first guy to put my stuff on television. Most of the early stuff there that really was just fixing up what they already had.
Yeah.
And keeping that going so they didn't have to spend more money. And in the meantime, I just bring the, you know, USWA belt home for, you know, a few days or sometimes even a week if you know, I'd give them a little something to swap out, or they just go without a belt at the house shows.
Right.
And you know, that was kind of the evolution of it. And then from there, you know, once I got the Reggie belt, Reggie just asked me, he said, "Hey man, why don't you do this the way that I do it?" Well, I'd love to, but I don't have a clue how you do it. and once again, you didn't just hop on the internet and learn about etching belt plates or see some, you know, Pakistani Facebook page that's got a $200 knockoff of something.
Right.
You know, so we just evolved from there. Reggie opened some doors for me, and we were on opposite sides of the country, so it was not like, here, let me show you how to do this. Here, let me show you how to do that. I just learned. I taught myself by looking at his work. Ordered a couple more belts as we went along. But, you know, that was it. And then Reggie just introduced me into the level of this business where, you know, there's a lot more to it. And, you know, now I've done more that I will always forget something. And I have people remind me, hey, didn't you make this belt or didn't you make that belt? And, you know, sometimes I have to pause and think, oh, gosh, yeah, I guess I did make that one.
Well, how did it feel when your first belt on TV? How did that feel when you saw that? And what was that belt?
Well, the first ones that I kind of considered mine on television, even though they were remakes or just fixed up versions of Reggie belts they had just beat the hell out of, were the USWA belts.
Oh, yeah.
The tag team belts. But Jerry broke my heart. Yeah. It broke my heart, right? Because we got these red belts, and God knows, and this will hit home a little bit, and he knows it's true. Wolfie and Jamie just beat the shit out of those belts.
Yeah. God knows, right? The bodily fluid and everything I can imagine that's on those belts.
I mean, you know, not just Wolfie and Jamie. I don't know that Tommy and Doug were always the easiest on them either, but
Right.
You know, but when Jerry says, "Hey, what can you do with these?" And I said, "Oh, I can fix it." We're talking replating. He's like, "What's that cost?" So I'll check into it. And he's like, "That already doesn't sound good." So no, just shot them up. And I've always hated this red leather. Can you get rid of this red leather and maybe give me black leather and kind of change the paint scheme to match that? And my heart sank. I was like, "Oh, King, come on." Let me just make them look new again. Let me just take these red belts and I'll fix them up, make them look new again.
Yeah.
And he's like, "Nah, really, I'd rather have the black leather." So anyway, that was the first ones, and yes, it was very cool to see. Although I would have preferred to have put them back on red and gone that route with them. But even though those plates didn't originate with me, they might as well have. And to me, that was the biggest thing in the world. And also, you know, that version of it got to be the Rock's very first belt. So I've made the Rock's very first belt and the Rock's to date last belt. So,
that's amazing. So you brought up a great point, and it led me into a place I wanted to talk to you about, Dave. So let me say this. I've asked Randy Hales about this, and I thought, Wolfie, you know, I'm the co-host of the Wolfie D podcast as well. So with talking to Wolfie, he doesn't have a clue about this answer, but we had a listener, Ben Martin. He sent in a question asking us about the USWA tag titles, and he actually sent a picture of them being used in the Fullers, you know, in Knoxville, and it's Jimmy Golden and Robert Fuller wearing them across their black leather, I think. And they're the USA Wrestling Tag titles. And then, of course, they show up and they're the exact same titles. Now, Randy didn't know how they got to the Memphis. He doesn't know. He assumes that maybe somebody just brought them to Memphis and they never made it back to Knoxville. Do you know the story on that at all?
Well, they originated on the red straps. With the
right, okay. Okay.
Ron Fuller, when he opened USA Wrestling, and Ron told this story recently himself, he said that he had heard of Reggie from the wrestling days, but he actually didn't know because he had ordered a lot of Levy belts in the Continental days, and which I guess somebody else maybe maybe it was David Woods, or maybe it was somebody else in promotion ordered the beautiful Continental Championship belt that ends up being the USWA Southern belt with Eddie Gilbert.
Right.
And I'll get back to the tags in a second, but all this is tied in.
Yeah.
So Ron said that when he opened USA Wrestling, somebody had told him about Reggie, and he ordered the USA Heavyweight and USA Tag Team belts from Reggie, and he said, when he got them, he was blown away. To this day, he has his USA Heavyweight Championship. He still takes it to appearances sometimes. It still looks like $1 million, even though it was made in like 87 or 88. And he's always taken care of it. Well, the tag team belts, and it's funny because weekends before this past weekend we just came out of, I was with Wolfie and Jamie in Pulaski, Tennessee.
Yeah, he said he saw you there.
Yeah, and Jamie said that he thinks, and this would make sense, but I don't know that he's right about the names, but he said that he thinks that his dad, Bill Dundee, and Dr. Tom Pritchard brought those belts to Memphis and just did some kind of deal with King and with Jerry Jarrett to own those belts when USA shut down.
Got it.
And it makes sense because Eddie Gilbert had kept the Continental Championship, the gold. If you haven't seen it, look it up, or just pull up like 1990 USWA, and that was the Southern Heavyweight belt and the beautiful gold-plated Reg Park belt. And when Eddie would disappear from the territory, because Eddie'd get hot about something and leave, or Eddie and Eric Embry didn't get along, and I think Eric fired him one time. When you would see that beautiful gold Reg Park belt disappear and some stand-in belt show up as the Southern belt during that time, it's because Eddie was gone. Eddie took his belt.
Yeah.
And because I guess, Continental had shut down, nobody questioned him. Eddie, I think, was booking, and he just took the belt. And
Got it.
Anyway, the tag team belts, Jamie said that he believes that his dad and Dr. Tom brought them to Memphis. And I know the timing is about right. Yeah. Because Bill worked in USA. I guess Dr. Tom worked. I know Dr. Tom worked in Continental. I guess he worked in USA. But that was the names that Jamie threw out. So that would be about as much as I would know about it, too. I just know that they did show up here when USA Wrestling shut down.
Got it. That makes sense.
I'm in Ardmore, Tennessee now, but that's where I'm from, and so I still say here like I'm standing, just outside of Memphis. But
right, we get it. That's totally fine. No, I think that's the most. Randy, he was like, I don't even know if Randy really cared. He was like, they were just there. We just got them and they used it. I don't know the specifics, but you can ask Randy a specific about a booking decision, and he knows it a million ways to Sunday. So it's really cool that we got that element from you for sure.
Well, yeah, the difference is Randy was just, and there's a lot of guys in that position. Randy was never a belt guy, and and didn't pay that much attention to him. And I paid a lot of attention to him.
Exactly. Yeah.
So Dave, you kind of lead me into something that there's always a big debate with wrestling fans about, is there too many belts in like a promotion, or is there, and this is you're the expert, right? So I want to ask you, do you think that too many belts in a promotion is like diminishes the meaning of, the belts, or do you think the more the merrier?
No, I think it does. I think it does. And but it depends on the circumstances too, right? So my best example before the current day product is, if you go back and you watch some 1986, 1987 Jim Crockett Promotions stuff.
Let's do it.
you had, of course, the world champions there a lot by then, because that's around the time Jim just kind of, the NWA board really all but disbanded. Jim Crockett controlled the NWA World Heavyweight Championship at that point. Just a fact. It's not, so you got the world title there most of the time.
Right.
You got the NWA World Tag Team titles, because by then we'd reached a point where every territory, if you get back into 1965, you can probably find 3 or 4 different areas of the country that said they had NWA World Tag Team champions. But the recognized World Tag Team champions, Jim Crockett Promotions World Tag Champions, they were there, right? Okay, so then you got the World Television Championship. Then you got the World Six-Man Championship. Then you have alternating, it started with the National Tag Team Championship and later just the U.S. Tag Team Championship. We're at 6.
Right.
Then you introduce the Western States Heritage Championship. We're at 7.
Right.
and as much as I love Crockett Promotions, I might be leaving one out. I might have forgotten one. You guys would probably know better than I would if I did. But that was just a quick overview, right? A lot of people say, my God, everybody comes on the set has a belt.
Right.
Well, that's true. But also, some of those times, most of those nights, Jim Crockett Promotions was running at least 2 towns.
Yeah.
And I need to get into checking and make sure I'm right, but it would not surprise me to find out some of those nights they ran 3 towns.
Right.
So at the very least on a card, you could have a Western States Heritage Championship match with Barry Windham. If Ric Flair was in another town, and maybe Rock and Roll was in another town with the World Tag Team titles, or on big shows, obviously they're all going to be together.
Sure.
It kind of, if you watch just the television, you think, oh, I'm sorry, I did leave that one. The National Heavyweight Championship, one of my favorite belt versions of the belt. Tully Blanchard, Terry Taylor, Black Bart, all those guys. Versions.
I love that
National.
belt. Yeah.
I love it too. And I don't know how I left that one out, considering it's one of the ones I love the most. But again, okay, so you got one town that might have a U.S. heavyweight title, U.S. title on top, maybe a some one of the more minor titles underneath. At least it made sense is what I'm trying to spit out here. At least it made sense. They were running enough towns that they wanted championship matches. And, the Western States title was a Dusty creation because he really thought they were about to expand out more on that West Coast, territory or make it a territory maybe. And it just didn't come to pass. So then you had Western States title matches. I mean, we had them in Memphis crying out loud in like 86. But it didn't matter. Here's why it didn't matter, because it was on Jim Crockett Promotions television, and it was a big deal just because it was one of their belts.
Yeah.
So today, do I think it's too many? I do. I do. I think that when you have, I think exactly what you said, Jared. I think it was you that said it. Yes, I think it dilutes your main title. I do. I think that the way Jim Crockett did it made sense.
It does. It does make sense. Yeah.
But I don't think that today that you need as many. Here's the shoot. I can't name every current WWE championship. I don't make those belts anymore. Like handmade belts. Great relationship there.
You can tell.
Yeah. Thank you. Well, great relationship with those people.
Sure.
It continues for many, many years. There's never anything contentious. It's just we got more into our licensing situation.
Right. Sure. Sure.
And running that business and then trying to play catch up on all the collector belts we got way behind on when our original engraving company went out of business several years ago. But so some of those, they got lost in the shuffle. I play catch up on those, and if it's a big enough project, or Chris Jericho or Bret Hart or Ric Flair's people or whatever called, then I'm going to answer and I'm going to take it because it makes sense, and it's not about ego. It's about good business and making sure everybody knows that I'm still doing this. So.
Well, yeah, and I can almost see you and my brother in very similar. He's not only a podcaster, he also is a pharmacist. So in the ultimate game, the idea that he's a pharmacist, he wishes that he didn't have to do his job because he's in the medical industry and he wishes everybody was healthy. But obviously, he's also a businessman. So he also wants people to come in because he does want them to have a little sickness, I guess. Not necessarily want them, but to know that he's there in case they are. And I can see that for you as well, being that, yes, you are a purist wrestling fan at the start of everything. So the idea of too many titles, do it like Crockett did, that kind of thing, versus you are a businessman and obviously you want to make titles for people and sell them, so it's kind of a catch-22. But I think you come from it, from the answer you gave was a very pure answer, so it's very appreciated that you gave that way. So
Yeah, man, and it's easy to come out with it because it's just, you know, you never have to think twice about something when you're telling the truth, right? So
there you go. There you go. Yeah,
absolutely.
I was deep in it, gaming on Samsung Galaxy Z Fold 7. Unfolding the screen made it twice as big and so immersive, I kind of lost myself. Might have trolled a little too close to the sun. Someone in the chat told me to touch grass, so I took my Z Fold 7 outside and kept playing. Still won, got a tan, and a nice little reset. Powerful processor, realistic graphics, you stay locked in, streak stays alive. Can your phone do that?
The new Galaxy Z Fold 7. Get yours at Samsung.com.
Hey, it's Ryan Reynolds here from Mint Mobile. Now, I was looking for fun ways to tell you that Mint's offer of unlimited premium wireless for $15 a month is back. So I thought it would be fun if we made $15 bills. But it turns out that's very illegal. So there goes my big idea for the commercial. Give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch.
Upfront payment of $45 for 3-month plan equivalent to $15 per month required. New customer offer for first 3 months only. Speed slow after 35 gigabytes if network's busy. Taxes and fees extra. See mintmobile.com.
This episode is sponsored by Friskies, who would like to tell your cats hi. Now, if that didn't get your cat's attention, there is one thing that always does the trick. Just pour some Friskies crunchy food in the bowl and you'll hear those paws come running. Works every time. With so many Friskies choices, you can always bring your cats running from their secret napping spots. There's always more to explore. See for yourself at friskies.com or visit your local store.
Are you a pro wrestling fan? Well, stop by Captain's Corner, where you can get autographed photos, cards, magazines, and figures from all of your favorite wrestling superstars of the past, present, and future. You'll also be able to participate in live signings in the weeks and months to come. Make sure to stop by Captain's Corner on Facebook and give us a holler. Remember, cheers to the working man.
So, Dave, I'm also like a action figure collector. I collect any action figures from wrestling that I could get, even current. You know, my son has probably stirred that up in me some, that I've got him into the figures. Do the toy companies come to you when they're making a design that's yours, or how does that work?
Yes, and by the way, the same. And my you know, I have 2 kids, and both of them have been grown for quite some time. But my son and I both. My son's 33, but we both will say, you know, we're not playing that game anymore. We're not gonna do this, and we're not gonna get that, and we'll sell off a whole bunch of stuff just truly just for space, you know.
Yeah.
We'll sell off a bunch of stuff, and then they'll come out with something like, you know, these new Andre the Giants with the belt that was the Reggie belt and things like that. But yeah, to answer the question, yes, they. I have a deal. Our LLC has a deal with Mattel through WWE. So it goes a little bit. They're really good to us. They have a lot of turnover, and sometimes we get lost in the shuffle and have to, you know, kind of rattle the cage, as I say. And we'll say, you know, hey guys, you owe us a box of these or a box of those. But they're very good to us. Like they know that we were, even though WWE owns the design, the championship belt that The Rock debuted and. What was that, guys? 2013, 2014, whatever year it was. Even though WWE owns that design, we made it work because their original versions had a number of problems. And it's one thing to set and draw up some artwork on a computer. It's another to make it tangible, to be able to, you know. And so we made it work. And my buddy Rico, who has been my art guy for over 20 years, it just tweaked it to where it would work, and then we did the 3D etched Brahma Bull side plates, and they knew we were instrumental in that, so they sent us a box of those.
That's awesome.
You know, they don't always listen. I told them more than once. Steve Austin, I don't think had ever stepped foot in the ring other than maybe to train when that red television belt was retired in favor of the black one, but they still made Steve Austin with the red television belt.
Right.
So they don't always listen, but yeah, they do have. But we have a good deal with those people and with the video game people as well.
Oh yeah.
And so, the new Power Town figures. My buddy Steve Kern was talking with Greg Gagne couple years ago when this was all kind of in talking stages. And Greg was like, "Oh, we're going to do this belt, we're going to do that belt." And Steve says, "We got to call him Buddy Dave." And Greg was like, "What for?" He said, "Because he owes all that." And then Steve calls and says, "Hey, Greg, glad you call you." I was like, "Not yet." And he's like, "He's going to call you." So, Steve is just took care of me on that. And I talked to Greg once. And then I guess somewhere in the ups and downs of trying to get that business going, the contact with Greg just dropped off. And then Magnum called me last year.
Yeah.
And picked that right back up because Michael from High Spots had gotten with Magnum and said, "Hey, guys, don't forget, there actually is ownership over a whole lot of this stuff." And so Magnum called, and Magnum and I just worked together and ironed it out. And so, we're figured in on the Power Town stuff as well.
I was hoping so. We've got a working relationship with those guys. We've had Greg, we've had Magnum, and we've actually had Steve Rosenthal on. So if you need the boss's number, I'll send you his number, brother. We'll make sure you get paid.
I appreciate it, man.
Magnum's on it, though. I'm sure he's a great guy. Magnum's amazing, So.
Well, that's funny. Steve might be the boss up there, but Magnum is the boss. So
yes, he's always the boss. He's always the boss.
To me. Exactly. So when Magnum and I did that, and there's paperwork signed now because eventually for the lawyers you have to.
Right.
They wanted the production on a verbal handshake, to put it that way, between Magnum and I, because Magnum knew that I would not let him get screwed around on the business end of it based on my words. And I knew the same about Magnum. So they went into production without us actually even signing the papers. They have been signed now, but that's how much faith I have in Magnum.
Oh, Magnum is amazing. And I could not believe it. We had Steve Rosenthal on the show, and he was great. And he was like, "Hey, my buddy Magnum, we can get TA with you." I'm like, "You can get what?" I thought we were just interviewing the amazing toy man that invented the Remco toys and all this stuff. But no, you're getting me with one of my favorite wrestlers of all time. Are you kidding me? And Greg and TA were cool with the interviews, but for sure Magnum was our biggest fan, freak out.
Let me tell you, it never ceases to amaze me. My buddy Conrad Thompson often says, "My life is weird." And he started that. It's just saying, but he means it in a good way. And I can relate, because I'm going to tell you, from a guy that as a teenager would watch, it started, I think it was 9 o'clock in the morning, I'd watch World Class. And then at 10, at first it was Mid-Atlantic, then they started sending us the Worldwide show.
Yeah.
And then at 11, I'd watch Memphis Wrestling. And by 1985, after Memphis Wrestling went off, I could watch Mid-South out of Louisiana. And then from Mid-South, they added the WWF syndicated show.
Yeah.
So that was my Saturday morning and afternoon. And I'm kind of the bridge to the middle here. I was still a fan in those days, and I proudly say that I still am when it comes to the classic stuff. But and then I got in at a time where maybe a little late to be involved in the glory days of the Memphis territory, but I got in at a time and got to be friends with so many guys that I never thought I would be. Well, then the belt business got me into being, the Magnum TAs and the J.J. Dillons and the Ric Flairs and the, we can go on, but not just a name drop. What I'm trying to say is if I stop and I think about it, it's surreal to me too. And it's my life is weird. It's like, I had a phone call one time, and I'll be very broad with it instead of giving the details out of respect for, but I had a call from JJ one time, and he was asking me a question about another one of the horsemen about was it okay to give him a call. And you think it'd be a good idea for me to call him? And I was like, "Oh yeah, I think so." And so we hang up, and I go in my kitchen, and I'm doing something, and hit me. It's like, the leader of the Four Horsemen just asked you, is it okay to call another one of the horsemen? Is it?
Yeah.
my life was weird. So.
Yeah.
In a good way, though, right?
In the best way.
Yeah.
In the best way. Who would have ever thought, when I was a teenager watching, the Mid-Atlantic and Worldwide shows that that would be a thing. That'd be a possibility. And, it was not, let me say too, before anybody gets a hold of this and wants to make a clickbait out of it or something, it was nothing negative. It was nothing negative. It was all hadn't been in touch in a while kind of thing. And he knew that I had. That's all it was. It was not anything negative. JJ is a wonderful, wonderful man. I never want anybody to get the wrong idea about any of that. So, but yeah, it was surreal.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Yeah. So I've got one more question for you before Jimmy gets into the name game. What's your weirdest request you've ever had for a belt that you're just like, what? or like an obscure request if you don't want to go into like something that's just.
No, I'll say it. I have two opposite ends of the spectrum. Through my late, not really my business partner as much as Reggie's, but Ed Schumann, we did some porn belts. Now there was nothing on the belts that was nothing on the belts that was obscene.
Yeah.
But they were for a porn company, and I probably would have declined, but Ed did not. and I ended up finishing those belts. On the opposite end of the spectrum, somebody else asked me one time, and he meant it in his heart was in the right place, but he wanted a Jesus Christ belt, and I said, okay. Everybody has their own beliefs, and these days probably not the most popular thing to be of the Christian faith or whatever. But I just told him, I said, I can't do it. This is my living, and I don't turn down money most of the time if I don't feel a real strong need to. I said, but to me, you mean it in a way to honor. But how do you honor Jesus Christ with some leather and some metal? And I said, nothing that I do is going to do justice. And I know what you're going for. I admire what you're going for, but I'm not your guy and he was not happy with me. And I just said, I feel like it trivializes.
Right.
This is something that we enjoy, right? We enjoy, like a lot of us enjoy, and God knows these days. And hey, I'm not knocking it. It's a good part of my living, but you have grown men walking around at WWE shows with these replica title belts on their shoulder, but I can't do that and put Jesus on one of them, even if your intentions are good, and I know they are. Right. It's just a difference of opinion. To me, it trivializes. You think you're honoring, and that's fine. That's your opinion, and you're certainly entitled to it. My opinion is it trivializes Jesus Christ, and I can't do that.
Yeah, I think that's the right choice, man, honestly.
So those are the oddest requests, I think.
And two opposite ends of the spectrum.
Very opposite.
As opposite as it gets.
Yeah. So that's crazy. So I want to ask you a real quick question. I do have this thing called the name game, and Jared's blown my cover on that. But anyway, do you remember a guy named Ken Steele? I think he met you at WrestleCon a few times. He would always come, either the Greg Price and Ken from Virginia. He was a pro wrestler.
Yes, I absolutely do remember Ken. I was just very shocked and sad when we lost Ken. Ken would stay in touch with me and send me messages here and there. Just never let the contact. He'd never let the contact lapse for too long. And Ken was a good guy.
Ken was my mentor and trainer. He actually brought me in the business. I did a little bit of time in wrestling as a manager mostly, but I did end up wrestling a couple matches. But anyway, Kenny's one of my best friends in the world. Honestly, I would be possibly doing Live and in Color with Ken Steele. Not to say that I don't love my homie Wolfie D, but what I mean by that is I would probably doing a podcast with Kenny, except he would be like, God, kid, you're killing the business, But anyway,
I love Wolfie. I love Wolfie, and I hadn't seen Wolfie. I saw Wolfie. I apologized to him, Pulaski, because we were both at Jerry Jarrett's funeral, and the only chance I got to speak with him, I would have been interrupting the conversation he was having. So I hadn't seen Wolfie in years, but I think a lot of Wolfie, and I did Ken as well, and was just very shocked and saddened. And Ken was one of the good guys for sure. But obviously, I'll have to tell you that.
Right. Yeah, Kenny is a great guy. I think of him almost every day with something that he said. And it was so sad because the last conversation we had, he texted me back and forth, and I was going through a back surgery at the time. And he said, hey, hope you do well, kid. Love you, kiddo. We'll talk after I get out of this doctor appointment. And then it never ended up getting to talk to him. Something happened. And then I'm out shopping for a bed because of my back issues. And sure enough, I get the text message that Kenny had passed. And I ended up going to his funeral, and of course I had to pay my respects and everything. And to me, the guy, he wrestled locally. He did a few job matches for some of the bigger companies, but to me, the wealth of knowledge that went away when that man passed, and it's just so sad. And obviously losing my friend is the biggest important part of that. But anyway, he spoke so highly of you, Dave. He said one time you guys were at maybe a Greg Price event, and he came up to you and he was talking to you, and he was talking about the big gold belt, and you said, you want to see it? And apparently you had it somewhere and you could show it to him, and he just thought that was the best thing ever. So he spoke as highly as you are of him. I promise you that, Dave. Yeah.
Well, I know it sounds corny and passe and made up, but as I sat here with a little lump in my throat and I got chill bumps on my forearms popping up, yeah, he was special, man. He was just one of the good guys in this business, as far as people that you wanted to be around and would always make you laugh. Gosh, I think the main times we got together were at those when I was doing the yearly Greg Price things, and we stay in touch in between. But just so many laughs, and I do remember. I hadn't thought about it in years, but I do remember that he was just blown away to be able to hold that belt, and I'm sure we took some pictures and stuff. But man, it's one of those that when you think about those Charlotte days, and I've come across a lot of those pictures lately. It's just never going to be right knowing that Kenny's not around anymore.
I know. I think about him all the time.
Hey everybody, Gene Jackson here, inviting you to check out the Retro Wrestling Review, where each week I'm joined by some great co-hosts who help me review classic episodes of USWA Championship Wrestling, and right now we are doing week-by-week reviews of 1993. But we don't just do reviews, sometimes we get a chance to interview some of the people who were there and lived it, plus do watch-alongs. It's a lot of fun, so check out new episodes that drop every Wednesday at WrestleCopia.com, and to find links to everything associated to the podcast, you can go to USWApodcast.com.
That's right, it's the Talk of Middle Tennessee, the channel you love to hate and the channel you hate to love. It's Brian Turner from Brian Turner's VHS Rehab. And if you're looking for matches from Wolfie D to Jerry Lawler to Dusty Rhodes and the team that put a pimp before your eyes and a goatee between your thighs, Booty Call and Athena, go to lostwrestling.com. See, I made it easy for you. Brian Turner's VHS Rehab. Booyah.
Hey y'all, this is Jimmy, and that was episode 9 of the Best of James Rock Street Productions, with the first half of episode 30 of the Ace of Belts, Dave Millican, on Give Me Back My Pro Wrestling. If you think pro wrestling, world titles aren't far behind. Dave is the top of the mountain when it comes to wrestling belts. Learning and taking over for his mentor, the legendary Reg Park, Dave has his fingerprints on some of the most famous belts of all time, and we're so lucky that he shared his story with us. You can hear the full episode over on @GMBMPW or Give Me Back My Pro Wrestling, wherever you listen to podcasts, or simply click the link in the notes below. We hope you've enjoyed a look back in the archives of James Rock Street Productions. Check us out next week to see what else we have in store. Until then, follow @GMBMPW and @JamesRockStreet everywhere. Peace.
With a tear in my eye, this is the greatest moment in my life.
We'll see you later.
This has been a James Rock Street production.